During our daughter's Sweet 16, my husband raised his glass and said, "I'm taking her out of the country for her real education, and her passport is already in my briefcase." My husband Daniel stood at the head of our dining table with champagne in hand, while our daughter Chloe sat frozen in her pink dress, surrounded by 50 family members and friends. He smiled like he'd just announced a surprise vacation instead of something that made my stomach drop through the floor. We leave Monday morning for Switzerland. She'll attend the boarding academy my family founded 3 generations ago. It's time she learns what it means to be a Whitmore. Our guests looked confused but started clapping politely because they thought this was part of the party entertainment. My sister Veronica stopped mid-bite and stared at me with wide eyes. Chloe's face had gone completely white, and she gripped the edge of the table so hard her knuckles looked bloodless. I stood up so fast my chair scraped loudly against the hardwood. "What are you talking about? We never discussed this." Daniel's smile didn't falter. "I've handled everything. The enrollment is complete and the tuition is paid for 4 years. Her passport is in my briefcase and her flight is booked. This is what's best for her future." My mother reached over and grabbed my hand. Chloe looked at me with panic in her eyes and mouthed the word "mom" without making a sound. I felt like I was watching this happen to someone else because nothing about it made sense. Daniel had never mentioned boarding school or Switzerland or taking Chloe anywhere without me. My father stood up from his seat and his voice carried across the room. "You can't just announce you're taking a child to another country without discussing it with her mother first. What kind of game is this?" Daniel set down his glass and pulled a folder from the briefcase sitting by his chair. "It's not a game, Richard. I have sole authority to make educational decisions for Chloe according to our custody agreement. Check paragraph 7 if you'd like." He slid papers across the table toward me and I grabbed them with shaking hands. The document looked official with legal letterhead and signatures at the bottom. I scanned the text and found paragraph 7, which stated that Daniel Whitmore had final decision-making authority regarding the minor child's education, medical care, and religious upbringing. I'd never seen this document before in my life. We'd never had a custody agreement because we were married and living together. Veronica leaned over my shoulder to read it. "This is dated 3 months ago. Did you sign this?" I shook my head because I definitely hadn't signed anything that gave Daniel sole authority over our daughter. "This isn't real. We don't have a custody agreement." Daniel reached for another paper in his folder. "We do now. Judge Carmichael approved it after our mediation session in August." I felt my face get hot. What mediation session? I was never at any mediation. Chloe pushed back from the table and stood up with tears streaming down her face. "I'm not going to Switzerland. I have school here and my friends in the dance competition in November. You can't make me go." Daniel's expression hardened. "You're 16. You don't get to decide where you live or where you go to school. That's my responsibility as your father, and I'm exercising my legal rights." My brother-in-law Keith pulled out his phone and started typing. He was a criminal defense attorney, and I could see his jaw clenching as he read the documents I'd passed down the table. Veronica had her arm around Chloe, who was crying openly now. The party guests were completely silent, and several people had their phones out recording everything. My best friend Diana stood up from her seat. "This is insane. You're talking about kidnapping your own daughter." Daniel laughed like she'd said something amusing. "It's not kidnapping when you have legal custody and court approval. Everything here is completely legitimate. I've spent 3 months preparing for this, and every detail is in order." He looked directly at me, and I saw something cold in his eyes that I'd never noticed before. Then he said, "To see the full story, click the link below or go on my channel."